Hi, this is Anna Imagination with the Healing Garden, and welcome to Shifting Perspectives. I have studied psychology, philosophy, sociology for 30 years, and this is my laboratory and my research journals. I was thinking about borderline personality disorder last night, and I was going over a case study and I had this nagging thing in my chest and in my head, which tells me, oh, yay, something's wrong, and I got to figure out what it is. I'm really excited about this one. Borderline is different because see, it's right there. It's just nagging, and I'm going, that's not what we think it is. It was after I talked about people pleasing the other day, and that was really what tipped me off. There's people pleasing, there's my views on schizophrenia, and now I'm looking at borderline, going, wait a minute, I know what it is. Borderline inside the head looks like this. You have three perspectives crammed in there. Three. All the other mental illnesses, there's only one. Well, two. You have your authentic perspective plus whatever you're dealing with. Now, you can have also codependency, and you can also have all these other things. But whatever they are, it's only going to come with one perspective, but not borderline. Borderline comes with two perspectives. Now, that's an anomaly to me. And I'm going, why does borderline get two perspectives? What's really going on? So after I broke down people pleasing, it's not even people pleasing. It's in the people pleasing video, but there's something else there. There's one more thing. I talked about two things that day. I talked about the people pleasing slave mind mindset. And I talked about the sensitivity, the allergic reaction to abuse, the hypersensitivity to maltreatment. Now, borderline has two mindsets to it in addition to the authentic mindset. You have your authentic mindset in there, and you've got two others. This one over here is, please don't leave me. But the other one is, I'm going to hurt you and I need to protect you. Please go away. It's the contradiction of the two that is the most pain with borderline. It's the contradiction. It's the dichotomy. It's the cognitive dissonance, because you want them to stay and you want to protect them. And the real illogic is that you hurt people. That is the borderline personality logical fallacy. I hurt people. I am dangerous. I had men calling me La Femme Fatale and the Black Widow for years because I'm fucking pretty. And they blamed my pretty looks and my voodoo. I actually had a friend call it Anna Voodoo in reference to just how obsessed men got over me. And they called me Black Widow and La Femme Fatale. And then I started to believe it. Then I started to think, wow, they're right. I do hurt people. I have a trail of broken hearts behind me. And now, even now, I'm sitting here going, yeah, I don't touch relationships because they just don't work out for me. But the core belief that I had to get over was that I hurt people. Now I'm just like, I'm sick and tired of trying. It's a completely different thing. But it's very much this juxtaposition of being taught between the dichotomy of, I'm going to hurt you, please go away before I hurt you, which sounds like the first ethic. That sounds exactly like the first ethic. That's the same concept that people at the first ethic get when they have addictions. It's such a degree of self-loathing. It's identical. It's the without the addiction. Well, borderline can come with addiction. Actually, borderline does come with addiction and codependency. This is it. This is what I mean. Son of a fucking bitch. Someone who suffers from addiction and Oh, there it is. I figured it out. Okay, so here's what it is. Someone who suffers from addiction, eating disorders, and or self-mutilation, all of which, by the way, are symptoms of borderline personality disorder, aren't. That is actually just a straight up addiction. Now, people who struggle with those, one of those, any of those three combinations have one core belief. I hurt people. I hurt people. And that's it. It's the first ethic. It's the first ethic of the addiction. It's the addiction belief is I hurt people. And it's a lack of self-worth. Now, somebody who just lacks the first ethic will just have an addiction problem, or they will just have. But let's flip it around a little bit further, because the other one is no, 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 please don't leave me. Now, somebody who has the addiction problem doesn't have that. They just have the I have this addiction over here. I'm bad for people. I'm not good for you. I'm not good for you. That is like the thing of I'm not good for you. And I used to say to people, don't love me. I'm warning you. In fact, I wrote it in my fucking book, Broken. It was one of the very first things that I wrote. Let me get it out here for you, because it is very much, this is very much the borderline personality mindset. Do not love me. You have been warned. The hardest part is watching men, good men, decent men fall for me, and over again. No decent man fell for me. I thought they were decent. Do not love me. Oh, this is so borderline. Ready? Do not love me. But it's not borderline. This part is actually the first ethic. This is the addiction mindset. Do not love me. You cannot have me. You cannot keep me or wife me. I cannot be owned or possessed. I will stray. I will always stray. If you get close, there will be a day when I will push you away. There's the borderline, only to pull you close to me to push you away again. Do not love me. I will love you hard and long and deep, but to keep you safe from me, I will destroy what little is left between us. I will reject you. Let me save you the time and trouble. Do not love me. You have been warned. That's borderline. And it's this mindset of I'm not good for you. I'm going to hurt you. And that is exactly what people with addictions, people with self-mutilation, and people with eating disorders do. It's like it's self-loathing. It's absolute self-loathing. It is the exact same self-loathing. But the borderline person has another mental illness, and it's not borderline, but it's the combination of the two of them that causes the borderline, and that's the disconnect. The other mindset is the, oh my God, please don't leave me. Which is narcissism. That's been bothering me for a while. Holy fucking shit, I know how to cure narcissism. Oh, I know how to cure narcissism because I already did this. This is what happens when you combine narcissism with the first ethic. You get borderline. But it's not borderline. Borderline doesn't exist. It's just narcissism. And hence I need to talk to people with narcissism. I need to confirm this. Holy fucking shit. I thought that it was borderline personality disorder is the empath and narcissism is the narcissism, but I was reading that wrong. It's not. It's narcissism combined with the first ethic, which is empathy. Empaths are of the first ethic. There's holy fucking shit. Borderline personality disorder is a cocktail. It's just a cocktail. And the narcissism contradicts the first ethic. My partner has the first ethic. I had both the narcissism and the first ethic. And that's where it was back and forth. Now he just has the first ethic. And I've got this person over here who's just a narcissist. And I'm going, but when you put them together, you become borderline, which is why you are disorganized, anxious attachment. Because I could toggle between my partner's behavior and then the narcissist behavior. But when you have a narcissist who is a bigger narcissist than you, boom, they feed off of the other aspect. Oh, this makes so much more sense. And I know how to solve this because I already fixed borderline. And to fix borderline is just, which means I've been inside the mind of a narcissist, which means I can, again, confirm I can fix narcissism because I know how they think. It isn't it's desperation. That is the emotion of a narcissist. Desperation. Because I'm not good for you. I have no self-worth. It's the imbalance. In a narcissist, they still have it. A lot of narcissists are addicts. Could not figure that out. Oh, I could not figure that out for the life of me. And it's a scale. It's a spectrum. So some people would have like 80% narcissism and 20% the first ethic. There's no name for this condition. We just call it addiction, and that's really not it because that's such a symptom. It's ridiculous. It's not actually the condition itself. And it's like a self-worth deficit. It's a self-worth. Oh, I got to figure this out. Self-worth deficit. I want to call up like every narcissist I know of right now and just immediately say, let me do traumatic healing on you for free because I think I know why. And it's not that they won't get help. It's that they are hopeless. They don't think there's any help for them. Yep. And I even wrote it in my fucking book. I said, what did I say? There's no help for me. No one can do this. And they couldn't. I had to do it. I can't be with anybody. Trapped in this room with no doors, and the deathmen will find you. The deathmen are there. They will find you. No matter how much you try, you are alone. It's what you are. Stop fighting it. I need to read this now. Like not now, but I need to read this. So I'm going to bookmark this chapter. Okay, so let me take a look here. I do not believe in a God. I do not believe in love. I do not believe anyone should trust. I don't believe in chivalry or a knight in shining armor who will save me. I do not believe in intimacy or gentleness. I believe in myself. I stood up on my own every time and I fought back. I took my beatings and I smiled. This is narcissism, which means I have been inside the mind of a narcissist. Holy fucking shit. Okay. This is going to be a lot easier than I thought. I was trying to figure out, like, how the fuck do I cure narcissism? But I've been inside the mind because that's borderline, is narcissism and the first ethic. All right. To cure mental illness, you need to downgrade your logical fallacies, limiting belief to fears. They already are fears, but the fear system elevated them to belief systems to hide them from you as red herrings so you wouldn't poke at them. That's really what's going on. If it's a fear, you can look at the fear and you can conquer the fear, especially if you're one of those real active, I'm going to do this. Then you have this real gung-ho attitude of grappling with your fears and overcoming them. When the fear system figures this out, there are core things that realizes if I don't have this as a fear, or if I have this as a fear, they're going to come after it. So I have to elevate this to completely alter who they are, to keep them safe, and to hide this from them. So they change a fear. The fear system changes a fear into a belief, a logical fallacy. And the fear system plugs it into your cognitive core. So you think it's a belief, but it's not. And there's a difference. There are two differences. There's two types of beliefs. The beliefs that are based off of your logical core, that are actually a part of you, there's no emotion. There's zero emotion. But a fear system that has used a fear to disguise it as a belief, as a logical fallacy, and embedded it into your system is emotional, which is why some of our beliefs get us angry and upset while other beliefs don't. Inconsistency is a red flag in my psychology. And every time I see inconsistency, I say, what's going on? Because if there's inconsistency, something's up. When it's consistent, it's truth. When it's inconsistent, that's the red flag that I need to dissect. So I dissected the belief systems. In addition to this, when I had my multiple personality disorders and I had my 4 alters and we were switching between each other, I was examining everything inside of the subconscious mind, looking for anything that changed. I documented everything that was the same and I documented everything that was different. If it was the same, it was the truth, and it was absolutely nothing of a consideration. But it allowed me to map the subconscious mind, depicting this is what every subconscious mind looks like because I had 4 subconscious minds. And there were things with all 4 of them that were identical. And then when my core personality came back, it matched it. Same. And then when I sit down and I talk to other people, I can see exactly the same map over and over and over again with every subconscious mind. It's a full map. But the inconsistencies, the parts of the subconscious mind that changed between the alters, now that got my attention. Only Joanna was the alter with mental disorders. Kalan, my Fey Witch Queen, she also had some as well, but different ones. And I noticed there was a difference between the belief with her and then massive amounts of belief differences with Joanna, and then Berrigan, Angel, Imagination, and me, absolutely none. Our beliefs were identical. They were unchanging. And with each one of them, I just stepped back and looked at them and went, so it's the belief systems that causes the mental illnesses, but not the multiple personality disorder. The multiple personality disorders were caused by one logical fallacy. I'm going to get into that later. I will not talk about what it is here. But I noticed that the parts, the beliefs that were there with Joanna, those were the beliefs that were emotional. The 2 beliefs that I had with Kalan, those were the beliefs that were emotional. So total, I had like 7 logical fallacies, 7 beliefs that were embedded into the system that were not there for the other 4, which told me then that I had 7 beliefs that were contributing to every mental illness, 5 for Joanna and 2 for Kalan. And then I was able to compare and remove each one of them systematically using logic. Now, what I realized was they weren't actually beliefs at all. They were fears. And they were fears embedded into the system as a belief. So they had to be downgraded. In order to downgrade a logical fallacy back to a fear, you have to prove to your fear system that it is, in fact, illogical. That's it. When you prove to your fear system that the logical fallacy is, in fact, a logical fallacy, it can't be a belief anymore because it's faulty logic. The cognitive core cannot hold faulty logic unless it thinks it's truth. So if you know which belief you have that causes you emotion, then you can know which belief is actually fear-based. And that tells you that's a fear. That's not a belief. Then you take that belief and you prove to your fear system using logic that this is not logic, this is not a belief, because it doesn't come from who you are. It comes from your fear system, and it is illogical because it is based off of fear. to which the fear system realizes this and downgrades it into a fear. Now you can address the fear. But as soon as that happens, it goes away. All of it goes away. The fear system might keep it as a fear, but now we can manage that. It's no longer a belief, so there's no longer an invasive perspective. And when there's no invasive perspective, what ends up pulling out of that in that case is your entire mental illness goes away, because the mental illness is stored inside the invasive perspective, which is caused by the logical fallacy. So when you remove that logical fallacy and downgrade it back to a fear, the whole thing goes away. And that is how you literally clean out each and every one of your fear systems. Or I'm sorry, every one of your invasive perspectives. Now you just have to work on you versus your fear system, you versus your fears. That comes back to you versus your defense system and your fear system. And now you have to start learning how to use boundaries and communication and how to take them out when you are, or how to use them to soothe and reassure your fear system. So once you learn how to manage and balance your defense system and your fear system, it all goes away. And then you use exposure therapy to introduce yourself to fear and to do the things that you aren't afraid of anymore, like discomfort. A lot of us are terrified of the unknown and discomfort. So if you use literally exposure therapy to expose yourself to discomfort and the unknown, it stops being uncomfortable and an unknown. You start to learn what it is, and you start to realize that it's not scary to be uncomfortable. You just have a severe aversion to discomfort. That's all this is. The severe aversion to the unknown and discomfort causes the fear system to escalate it to a logical fallacy. So once you understand all of this, you can just use logic to remove it. This is why I say you have logical health. And if you are completely tethered by mental illnesses, it's because you're not logically healthy. You need to have logical health to do this. I already have. So now it's really important for me to break down what the mental illnesses are so I can match up the logical fallacies with each mental illness, and they are predictable. I'm already doing this with my case studies where I will give them the logical fallacy. I will give them the map of the subconscious mind, and instantly it's gone. And I do mean instantly. As soon as they realize it and they can rationalize it out, and boom, it's gone. So I have the one for the first ethic. I have the one for narcissism, but I thought it was the one for borderline. I thought borderline had two. And it didn't even occur to me because these fucking dipshits call it borderline. So I was on a rabbit's chase. They did the same thing with bipolar. Bipolar is not bipolar. So borderline doesn't exist because it's made up of two. It's narcissism and it's this first ethic that has no name. The bipolar is just ADHD, which is PTSD, and it is also depression. That's what bipolar is, which is why you have the two poles, is because you'll have a manic episode when you're ADHD, and then you'll sink down into depression. And you could be in depression for years. And then you could have spikes of manic. You could be manic for hours, for days, for weeks, because it's the ADHD. And that's why they can't predict bipolar 1, bipolar 2. Schizophrenia? Schizophrenia is just when you walk into the world of metaphysics. That's all that is. That's not a mental disease at all. That's people not knowing that you can see metaphysics. And so they're terrified because you can suddenly see physics and you're going, oh my God, and it's okay. This is normal. Like if you have schizophrenia, come talk to me and I'll coach you through it. And it's just metaphysics. Depression is grief of the self. You don't believe, which is why this is why the Healing Garden is the dream ambassador. That's why I focus on people's dreams, is because it actually cures depression, because you have purpose and you're going toward your dream. And that's really what this is all about, is people not pursuing their dreams. Mental illness is the direct result of being uneducated and not pursuing your dreams. That's it. People need to become smarter and people need to pursue their dreams. And you won't have mental illness when you do. Bottom line, that's it. I don't know if ADHD is fixable. I'm trying it out on my daughter. and I can't figure that out. But there's also a significant sensitivity to maltreatment. Now, people pleasing is another diagnosis, and that one, that's slave mind. And slave mind is, oh, that's different. Slave mind, which is the people pleasing. And then the other one is, yeah, I think that's it. So it's the first ethic. God, I wish I could figure this out, a name for it. And then there's multiple personality disorder, dissociative. See, and then there's dissociation. See, dissociation is just a total, that's flopping. That is your fear flight response of fawning and flopping. So flopping is just dissociation. That's all it is. Flopping is dissociation. Fawning is what I call chameleon. That's what I called it. Oh my God, that was a name I gave it when I was 15. I called it the chameleon because my mother was a chameleon. My mother fawns. I fawn. Now, multiple personality disorder is, and this is it. This is perspective abuse. There's 2 stages of perspective abuse. The first stage of perspective abuse. No, logic screaming at me. No, it's not. There's 3. Okay. All right, fine. There's 3. There's 3. There are 3 stages of perspective abuse. Stage 1 is amnesia. Stage 2 is invasive perspectives. Stage 3 is multiple personality disorder. People who are vegetables and in a coma is when your dissociation never, it's your flopping. It's when you do shutdown and it stays off. I would say that you either get multiple personality. No, I don't think so. No, because I think you can also have multiple personality. I would say there's even a stage 4. And the stage 4 is the flopping. And that's when you have total system shutdown. And that's when people become a vegetable from trauma where they don't talk for years and they just zone off into space. Literally, it's not safe to be in this dimension. I almost had that. Wow, did I almost have that? I had like 10 altars. How many altars did I have at that point? I got to think about this. Why did I say 10? I never had 10 altars. Why did I say 10 altars? That was a Freudian slip. And I'm looking at my subconscious mind like, why 10? Why would you do that? I was 35. And I had that moment where I had Colin, I had Bergen, I had Joanna. So I had 3 altars at that time. I was up to 3 altars. Technically, imagination is not an altar. Technically, imagination is a fraction of my core self. She was kind of like the whole, go upstairs and see if it's safe to come out. So I sent a part of my core out to see if it was safe. And that was imagination. So technically, imagination is not my altar. She's actually me, which is why I'm Anna Imagination, is because she is my core self. So is Anna. We're core people, whereas the altars are not, which is why people think, and we're all one conscious mind, but like imagination and Anna are at the forefront. And we're not different. Are we different? I don't think we're different. No, we're not different. I mean, we're all different. All of our personalities are different. That's where, oh, you can't have dichotomy. So the flopping, okay, so here it is the first stage is amnesia. This is where if you have gaps in your memory and you can't remember your childhood. This is the gaps in your memory where you really have a hard time remembering. It could be short term, it could be long term. And there's only 2 cases of this. And this is where, or 2 cases. There's only 2 types of amnesia. Either you have dementia and or Alzheimer's, it's physical, or you've got trauma amnesia. There should be no other reason why you forget. People do not just forget. That's your subconscious mind blocking shit out so you stay safe. Amnesia is the first level of trauma. The second level of trauma is invasive perspectives. That's when we start to see behavioral defenses. That's when we start to see the limiting and logical fallacies, and then it breaks off. The third stage of trauma, I'm getting this, is multiple personality disorder. That's when you have multiple alters. There's no dissociation with this. The next one is dissociation, and that's when you flop, and that's when you shut down. Now, I don't believe you have to, I almost want to say that if you have invasive perspectives, you can have both flopping, vegetable shutdown, and multiple personality disorder, or one or the other. Because in my partner's case, he does the full flopping shutdown. Yeah, it's almost like, and they say this has been proven consistent. This is consistent. Is multiple personality disorder is only in people who were abused at a young age. You have to suffer from severe trauma at a young age to have multiple personality. That is consistent. If you were delayed, if you were like in your 20s when you had trauma, you're not going to have multiple personality. But you can still flop and do the vegetable thing. So I almost want to say that flopping and being a vegetable is also a third level. See, depression doesn't have a trigger. Schizophrenia is not schizophrenia. That doesn't exist. Bipolar does not exist. That's garbage. ADHD is a branch of PTSD. Narcissism. Narcissism is the third ethic, which is why they don't trust. The addiction, eating disorder, self-mutilation, that's the first ethic. Codependency is the second ethic. Logic is screaming at me going, no, it's the first. Okay. Logic says it's the first. I'm going to have to dig out codependency even further. Codependency would be the first. Yep, that's consistent. Codependency is the first ethic. Narcissism is the third. Oh, Anna! They don't learn the resource. They don't learn the third. Yeah, it's a compound. It's a compound. Slave mind. Slave mind. How did I solve my slave mind? See, that one. Oh, God, slave mind. I got to really dig into slave mind because I didn't even think that it was a mental illness. I got to think about this. Slave mind. How did that work? How did I get over slave mind? Cognitive behavioral therapy. PTSD. It's like PTSD. Slave mind had triggers. So slave mind is not, oh, that's just Pavlov's dog. That's what it is. That's just Pavlov's dog. I love it. All right. So there are some mental illnesses that are just conditioned into us with abuse, and that's what I like to call the Pavlov's dog technique. So PTSD is Pavlov's dog. Slave mind, people pleasing is Pavlov's dog. ADHD is Pavlov's dog. But narcissism, the first ethic, self-worth deficiency, Self-worth deficiency. I think that's good. Self-worth deficiency. There's one other thing with the first ethic, and that is terror of discomfort. That's it. Terror of discomfort. Almost discomfort avoidant. Discomfort avoidant and self-worth. And it's also a severe fear of the unknown. Fear of unknown. Fear of fear. It's literally a fear of fear. Kid you not. It's a fear of fear. I'm serious. It's a fear of fear. It's a fear of discomfort. And it's a lack of self-worth. And that is what causes addiction, self-mutilation, and eating disorders. It is a combination of discomfort avoidant, fear of the unknown, and fear of fear, and a complete lack of self-worth. Zero self-worth, self-loathing. And it's because of the lack of the first ethic. And then you have codependency. Now, codependency, codependency and narcissism. See, I almost want to say that codependency is just the cocktail you get when you combine mental illnesses with other people. It doesn't matter which, because they're compatible. So the first ethic is compatible with the third ethic. The second ethic is more like an adjective. It's a modifier. So lacking the second ethic literally modifies the first or the third. Or both. It's the modifier. So it's literally a lack of the first three. These are literally like foundational fused. These are all from the foundational perspectives. When you don't have a solid foundation, you end up with mental illness. There is no mental illness that results from the fourth perspective. I mean, technically, one could say you have an obsession with rules and you have a significant need to control. But that comes from the foundationals. If you have the solid first three ethics, you're fine. And then you'll keep growing without a problem. So the people who make it to the fourth ethic always lack the first two. So no matter how we roll the dice on this, it keeps coming back to the same thing over and over again. The first three ethics are where the mental illnesses come from, the invasive perspectives. So you have your first ethic, mental illnesses, and your third ethic, mental illnesses, which is narcissism. And then you've got the slave mind, which is a conditioned Pavlov's dog response. The others are not conditioned responses. You are not conditioned into narcissism. Are you? Let me think. No, you're not. You're not conditioned. You are prevented from learning. It's not conditioned response. You are prevented from learning. It's not through conditioning. It is through conditioned response. It is through basically substantial neglect. But slave mind is conditioned. PTSD is conditioned. Narcissism, yeah, there you go. There it is. There it is. I see it. Okay. And then you just in general, you are left with a sensitivity, a hypersensitivity to maltreatment, which is explainable. You basically have an abuse allergy, which is what a lot of people now have, and they don't realize it. So they think they've got all these mental disorders. Abuse allergy. So there you go. All right, there it is. I'm going to put these on my website, and I'm going to lay it all out. And this is the connection, as well as the, there's a lot I want to do with these. Now, Stockholm Syndrome and psychological entrapment are others. Stockholm Syndrome and psychological entrapment. Those are the same thing, in my opinion. They are the exact same thing. Stockholm syndrome is literally narcissistic abuse syndrome. Ha ha ha! Narcissistic abuse syndrome is slave mind. Oh, look at that. Did not realize that. There it is. Okay. Technically speaking, yeah, people pleasing and slave mind is narcissistic abuse syndrome. Narcissism really is when you're basically abused through the authority, power, control triangle system. I'm going to do a little bit more work on these and polish these, but I think I finally have the solid foundation of all of these now. Yeah, I think so. All right, good. Thank you so much for joining me, and may the kindest of words always find you.